Okay, I've got like an hour without my kids, which is really rare. So I'm just going to dive in and answer a question. Whoa, hold up, pause a moment here. I created this for my Facebook group who already knows who I am. Now, I really dislike small talk and I especially dislike those few minutes at the beginning of people's videos where they take forever to get to their actual talking points. And yet, here I am. How about we negotiate and just do a single slide capturing all that jazz so you know who I am and what this is about? Okay, great. Question is, what do we do if we're in a bad mood or we can't quite get into the feeling of the wish fulfilled? If it is too foreign or if you're in pain, if you're in physical suffering, you're physically hungry, you're dealing with a sickness, or maybe somebody else's, or you're really depressed, you're going through grief, your dog just died. I mean, I hope your dog didn't just die, but if it's like a country song, if it's just really a difficult time for you and you can't shift into a different state, do we have to be in the right mood? So I know Neville Goddard talked a lot about attitude. He talked a lot about moods and states he used interchangeably. A mood is a state of consciousness, which is different than a fixed state, and I'm not going to talk about that right now. But as far as your moods, yes, your moods manifest. Does it keep your manifestation from coming? No, absolutely not. Do you have to be happy or high vibing? Do you have to be highly vibrational to get what you want? Neville talked about a thrill, but pay attention to when he talked about this. When he was talking about affirmations, for example, like if you're affirming, I am, and then you state what it is that you want to be, and then I am again. So you're declaring who you are conscious of being, who you want to be as though you are right now. Okay, when you're doing that, as you affirm that, or if you're doing an imaginal act, okay, you will get a thrill in either some cases or most cases, not always, but there may be a thrill, but it would be natural. Okay, it's not something you force on yourself. It's not something that you make yourself, like get yourself all worked up. Like, I mean, I know there are times he's talked about getting yourself into an ecstatic state, and you talk about sexual energy and things like that, but you don't have to. There is a natural thrill that will come, and it may not be a thrill. It may be relief. It may be peace. It will be whatever is natural to whatever it is that you're seeking. So what do you do if you're in physical pain? And you can't force yourself to make the pain go away, right? So don't force yourself to do that. It's okay to be in pain. It's okay to feel all that you would be feeling in that state. Don't force yourself to be happy and joyful. Visualize yourself. Imagine yourself if you had that pain gone. Hear yourself. So instead of focusing on the feeling, try to focus on other types of feelings, like your sensation of in this moment. Like, for example, forget about everything else right now and just, this table is shaking because my puppy is underneath. Hey, we're recording here. Look around you right now, whatever's natural. Okay, for example, in my reality, the dog is just shaking the table, right? So I've got a little puppy right here, a two-year-old puppy here, and I've got the noise. You heard the clip. I don't know if the you could hear it or not. There was his clacking of his nails because I need to clip them. And there's if you can't hear it, but I can hear humming of different appliances. So think about, what can you see, what can you hear, what can you touch, what can you taste, what can you smell. Those are all senses, and those can help you get into your imaginal scene. If you're picturing yourself, you can, if you can't visualize, then think of what you would be saying or what someone else would be saying. Maybe it's a positive medical report, or maybe you're excited that you're telling someone you feel so great, you have so much energy, or they're remarking of it. Or maybe you're overhearing people talking about how happy they are for you. There's a number of possibilities for the scene itself, but you can use that. So even if you can't feel into it, if you can't push past whatever, even if it's depression or if it's anger or if there's an injustice that happened, you can still think about, it's okay to, I know there's this whole debate people have about thoughts and thoughts versus feelings, what comes first, the chicken or the egg. Just go with what makes sense to you and what helps you, and just ignore the rest, okay? There's no right or wrong. There's no one person who's right and one person that's wrong. And there are things that even if Neville said, there are places in his lectures where he seems to contradict himself sometimes, or where he had grown or evolved, or there's different versions of him. It's really what you are observing and what makes sense to you, because ultimately you manifested all of this. That's another point I want to make. You manifested me making this video for you right now, because I don't like showing my face. I like reading and listening. I don't like watching people, and I don't like being on TV. You manifested Neville, you manifested all the coaches, you manifest how they show up with all the contents of your mind. That's what reality is. It's, Abdullah called it the arrangement of his mind. Okay, that is, it's not just thoughts, it's not just feelings, it's not just assumptions, it's not just beliefs, it's not just memories, it's all the contents of your mind, and it's all that you know to be true, that you've accepted to be true. And when I say no, and this might help you here. When I say no, I mean it in the Greek sense of the word, to experience. And that's why I like the imaginal act so much, because even if you don't quite believe that something's real, if you can experience it in imagination with your senses, you are knowing it. So you're knowing it without necessarily believing it yet. And that's a good way to help if you're... Some of us can assume new states rather easily. I can now with practice. Like, I can recognize, like even earlier this morning, I'm just in a bad mood because I'll be honest, I don't like grifters. I don't like some of the stuff I see. And then I react, and that's an attitude, and that plants a seed, and I'm like, okay, I don't want to plant negative seeds. It's not helpful for anybody, especially myself, if I'm just stewing and ruminating on stuff. And I follow Neville's teachings for the most part, and he did say that we're responsible for everyone that we meet. And so simply getting my attention off of things isn't necessarily enough. If I see things I don't like, if I see people doing things I don't like, then it's my responsibility to mentally move them to a different state and to imagine lovingly for them. So that's what I do. But sometimes, you know, if you're in a mood, you might recognize you're in a mood, but then you think, okay, I need to shift to a better mood now. And there might be resistance with, maybe you don't want to, maybe you're attached to the mood you're in, or you might just not have experience in doing that. And that's also where a lot of mindfulness comes in handy. So, for example, you can talk to your emotions. You can imagine that your emotions are at the door knocking for your attention, and you open the door, you greet them, you let them in, you let them have a seat, offer them some tea or coffee, and let them have their say. Let them tell you why they're there. And so you're validating your feelings. You're not just suppressing them. And then just respectfully let them know the other feelings that are there. So if you're angry over an injustice, then you might let that anger know that you see that fear is there with them too, because usually fear is the underlying emotion of anger. So you talk to fear and anger and let them know that, the other emotions you have that are there, that it's going to be okay. You give them reassurance. Because really a lot of those emotions are just for your own, it's yourself trying to keep yourself safe and trying to cultivate a sense of safety. So that's really what you want to do. And some of you may need to do like inner child work. That's fine. You don't have to do any of this to manifest, though. There's a difference between your mental health and stability and just overall happiness in life. And if you really need to manifest from point A to point B, you need to get somewhere. If you're in an emergency situation, if you need food, if you need shelter, if you, whatever the situation is, you don't have to go through all these steps. You don't have to go through a process. You don't have to heal your trauma. You just imagine that it's yours, that you have it right now, that you are, as Winifred said, she was one of Abdullah's students, she would say, he who hath it, she who hath it, they who hath it. You are the person who has it. So as long as you imagine that, and you need to go on a destination, if you need to get somewhere, like physically, then I would use astral travel. I would do a guided astral travel meditation, or just, like I said, use your sensories of what can I see, what can I touch, what can I taste, what can I smell, what can I hear, and get yourself present there now in imagination, and then just trust it. There will be a bridge of incidents and you will get there, even if you don't want to go. Like I had an experience, I can't remember if I think I took it out. I took it out of I was going to put it in one of the books, but it was too long. I had an experience where I did astral travel. I thought it was going to be kind of like a prank on somebody. And no, maybe I did put it in. I'll have to check. This may or may not be in one of the books. I kind of have I guess a little bit about me. I grew up pretty much raised by my grandparents, and my grandfather was a bit of a jokester, so I have a little bit of a prankster side of me. Even in the metaphysical realm. And I thought I would be playing a prank on somebody. I absolutely did not want to go to this person's house. I hated their house. I hated the town. I just had really bad memories in that town. It wasn't anything personal against that person, but I really would not be caught dead in that town. I do not like that house, that town, okay? But I thought it would be, my understanding of how astral travel worked was very different, and I still hadn't quite understood the nature of reality, that imagination is reality. There was just this layer of understanding that I didn't quite catch until after this experience. So I thought what was happening in astral travel is that it was like my spirit self going around, and that maybe people might see me, or they might see like a ghost or something, that I really didn't grasp that it would be no different than the other imaginal acts that I do. So I thought that I was going to be doing a haunting. I'm just going to admit it. I thought I would be haunting this person. I thought that it would be really funny if they saw things, or thought they saw things, thought they saw me, something like that. So I did a guided astral travel exercise. It was the one that it was by Brian Scott, and it actually got ruined after he did that one. Something happened to it, so there's another one now, but it's a little bit different. The one I did that's not there anymore, he did a Neville exercise where you actually take objects with you in the astral travel. And anyways, so I did it, and a bridge of incidents happened, and I ended up there, and I ended up taking having the objects given to me, that I realized on the way home, like, oh my gosh, I'm wearing and holding the same objects. It's so crazy. So that caused a little bit of an existential crisis, but it really does work. And it's a really good example of why I believe the ladder exercise that Elmer Locker Jr., the grandfather, that's his name, is Elmer Locker Jr. He was in one of Neville's books. He did a video that his grandson posted underneath his name. And if you follow that method, I know there's big controversy. Did Neville really say it? Okay, side note here, you guys. I worked in administrative law for a very, very long time. And I was a judicial assistant for nearly a decade for 2 different agencies. And hearsay is admissible as evidence. For one thing, and then for another thing, this isn't even hearsay. This is eyewitness testimony. So, and that's just administrative law. In other types of law, there's certain situations where it would be admitted as evidence anyway. So all these people who are scrutinists and say, "Oh, it's not firsthand." Well, no, he was there with Neville, and he's telling you what he was taught. So that actually is his firsthand testimony. And that would be admissible as evidence under the preponderance of evidence standard. So there you go. Yeah, I'm a little know-it-all sometimes. But so back to what I was saying about the ladder exercise is compared to a lot of Neville's teachings and Joseph Murphy's as well, it really does also supports what Coue taught and what, I just forgot his name. He's one of the founders of the New Thought movement. He was mentioned very briefly in Mitch Horowitz's latest book, and I just forgot his name, but he also taught about affirmations and negative things when you're declaring not. I'll have to research it, but anyways, what I was saying is when you're doing the ladder exercise, okay, and you're saying all day long, or you have note cards posted up, "I will not do this. I will not do this." You're setting your will, okay, whether you are setting your attention, "I'm not going to do this. I don't want to do this," or whether it's signs like the Jim Crow signs that Abdullah saw saying, you can't enter here, no entry, no trespassing. Whether you put the signs up or whether they're your beliefs in your mind or your will, determination, you're just determined to not do something, none of that matters when you're up against your imagination. And this is from a quote from Emile Coue, that Joseph Murphy and Neville Goddard quoted more than one time. And then they also would interject other words in the place of imagination. But the original quote from Coue is about your imagination, that when it comes between your will and your imagination will always win. And that is what I believe to be the point of that ladder exercise, and what I, regardless of whether you want to argue over whether it was really a Neville teaching or not, it's still really helpful for manifesting. It's really true. It's been true in my experience over and over again, like with that astral travel surprise, that whether you do it in SATS or a meditative state, for those who don't know, SATS is state akin to sleep. So whether you are doing your imaginal act as you're drifting off to sleep at night, or whether you're like me and you do it standing with your eyes open while you're looking out at your backyard, there's no right or wrong way of doing an imaginal scene. You do it whatever is most natural for you. Okay, if you've been manifesting, whether it's not very long or a long time, that's conscious manifestation. You have subconsciously been manifesting a very, very, very long time. So you think back to the things that manifested in your life, your desires that unfolded, miracles, answers to prayer. Retrace your steps and figure out, did you daydream? Did you visualize? You will find when you retrace your steps that there was a predominant way that you didn't even know it, in which is your most natural way for manifesting. For me, often it's been daydreaming. It's been catching a vision. And I I do have a friend who's like, well, you're clairvoyant. That's not fair. Maybe you're not really consciously manifesting it. Maybe it's just you're clairvoyant and psychic and you just get these impressions. Well, your beliefs about manifesting manifest. And so maybe that's a belief you want to create for yourself to help you manifest. Just believe that you're clairvoyant or psychic. I mean, if that helps you. But ultimately, regardless of how the impressions come to you, the pictures in your mind, whether you are a visualizer or if you use inner hearing, you are still, the arrangement of your mind, you are still the cause in your reality. Yes, your desires are placed there by God in you, but you are God. That God is you. God is in you and is fused with you and is one with you. So you are God of your reality, either way. So anyways, I was kind of rambling. That's how I am. I will work on answering some more questions, and we will schedule a live so that I can answer questions live for you. All right.